when you are creating a brand and you do not consider your customer and what they need from that brand, and you instead choose to go with your own opinion, major X. Welcome to Heart and Head Work, the podcast for women who want to lead with strategy and soul.
I'm Tessa, the people connector who embraces vulnerability and dreams big.
And I'm Rocky, the strategist who thrives on logic and turns vision into action.
We combined our superpowers and founded Maven, a community that empowers women.
Including Maven District, the largest collective of women-owned small businesses in the world.
This podcast is for women like you, building something real and wanting more than just business advice.
You'll hear honest conversations, practical tools, and personal stories about what it actually takes to build purpose-driven businesses.
If you're building with your whole self, heart and head, this is a space for you.
Join us on the journey.
Welcome back, y'all. Thanks for joining.
Backing up, back. Welcome.
We're back to music already.
I can't. When we listen to music, because we can't legally play it here, I'm on the stream.
I know. Sometimes to get in the zone, Rocky and I will have a quick music dance party / sing sesh / dance sesh.
Let's ask a legal question. Can we talk about the music?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, we're getting the go ahead. Mm-hmm. And I'm trusting her blindly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we were just fighting about who sang it better. What's the name of the song?
Romeo and Juliet by Dire Straits.
By Indigo Girls.
Negative Ghostwriter.
Sang by Indigo Girls. And we just listened to both versions and we both
clearly think
like ours better.
Dire Straits is better.
Indigo Girls.
Dire Straits. DS. Mark. Go Mark. The original writer. Just
Rocky doesn't know who the Indigo Girls are. So there's that.
Don't know.
How can you even trust her on anything she's about to say about design or branding?
This is true. How can I know anything without the Indigo Girls? This is actually how I view the world. If you don't know the music I'm talking about, you must know nothing.
Exactly. That's how I feel about you right this second.
Sad days. Sad days.
Except sure. Let's talk strategy and branding and design.
Let's talk about this.
Let's talk about that. Can you tell me about your biggest branding lesson? And just go right to the meat, baby.
Yeah, I'm into the meat. Give me the baby back ribs. Okay.
I want my baby back. Chili's.
Baby back ribs.
Barbecue sauce. There you go. This is why branding's important.
This is why branding is important. Actually, just a quick aside, when I was in San Diego with my family, the old car jingle came on and I could still sing it. And that is the crazy powerful branding of Massey Nissan moves you. Straight up. How the hell do I know that? I haven't heard that commercial for 30 years.
And now commercials are mostly obsolete if you're doing paid services, right?
Yes.
So my kids, we were talking the other day that kids don't know what Disneyland is, because if you don't get commercials showing you on why you need to go on a Disneyland vacation,
it's just Disney Plus.
It's just it's just Disney.
Oh, they are
cool
missing out
movies.
on the land. Actually, Disney is one of my examples for great brands if we were going to talk about it.
Yeah, well, there we go.
But biggest mistakes, I can't think of one single time, but I can think of the one thing that kept occurring multiple times, and it's a huge lesson, is when you are creating a brand and you do not consider your customer and what they need from that brand, and you instead choose to go with your own opinion, major X. And not double XL Magic Mike. We're talking X as in 3 negative X's is bad.
And not 3 X's in a row, tic-tac-toe.
No, it is not a tic-tac-toe. It is a disconnect from your audience.
I agree. I would say probably the big mistakes we've made at Maven along the way are when we did not ask our community or have our community as in mind. And we went with our own ideas.
Yeah, if you're an entrepreneur,
food feedback.
Sometimes you can be your audience, which we have that, but even still, if you are your audience, you are one opinion out of a multitude of opinions. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's good to crowdsource. Sometimes it's not great. But yeah, that would be my big one. Listen to what the customer is after, because that's who you're serving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How about yours?
It comes from you, baby girl.
Dropping wisdom bombs. I'm actually very, very flattered already.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Fuck yeah.
This also has a lot to do with
Kiss.
Yeah, kiss. I loved how it's so concise for you because you're always going to make it like concise. But in design, the first place I heard this was in Coco Chanel. This is very common in her brand. This is how she thought.
Beautiful
she
kiss.
would, get ready and build a beautiful outfit and then take something away. And in design, for me, when I'm designing a space, I'm always going to think about how few materials or how few things I can use to make this space, because I want, most often, not all the time, I want people to come in and have a calming experience or experience some sort of emotion when they walk in. So I don't want it to be, overwhelming.
Yeah, in our earlier conversation, you had started with an F word that now I can't think of. Fluff? Is it fluffiness?
Yeah. Get rid of the fluff.
Yeah.
Like fluff it, keep it simple, stupid. Or keep it stupid, simple.
Or keep it simple, as we like to tell our girls, sweetheart.
Oh, sweetheart.
That's not my favorite. I still like the stupid, but I understand the demeaning nature of it. Let's give a little background on ourselves, only because we are talking about something that is, design and brand, which are very specific things. I would like the audience to know, I want you guys to know, Tessa, what's your history in design and brand? Because I think it's an important piece. We're not just, we didn't just decide to build a brand yesterday. We've got some meat behind those bones.
Yeah, I love bringing history into the conversation because it gives it some color, right? As to why those of you that may be familiar with Maven, like we definitely have a design and brand and voice aesthetic that feels very in our, it feels very tangible now, but it didn't always start that way. I grew up sitting on my dad's lap while he was designing houses. He was a kitchen designer and owned a cabinet manufacturing company that when I finished college, I went and worked for, and was also a kitchen designer of very big, fancy houses. And I was a 22-year-old kid selling crazy expensive things. And I could barely pay my rent. And I was asking, people for $500,000, which, that was 20 years ago. And so now it's probably like $1 million, which taught me so much about design. It taught me so much about people. But sitting on his lap and designing spaces, I could always see it. And I think a lot of people in design, you can either see it or you can't. And I think everyone can see certain aspects. Design for me shows up very much in physical spaces, which is the lens I'm going to talk through today. And you'll talk through more on the branding and strategy side. But so everyone has like their entry point of where you're going to see it. So you as a listener be thinking that if interior design or space design doesn't land, the elements of what we're going to talk about is the same regardless of how you design. Say you're a copywriter, all of these things are going to still land.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it.
Mm-hmm. So for me, I decided, about 10 years in that designing for, well, at the time I was designing for really, really rich people with lots of houses, and it felt very empty. And I did one last house that I always know is like my exit house. And the woman that owned it, right at the end of the project, she was really, really annoyed that her cashmere sweater sleeves hit the shelf below. And that we had to tear out the closet to make her the shelves in a different place. And that was the moment for me that I was like, I have to do something with more purpose. And so it gave me my chops. It gave me, working in that level of luxury, you are really, really down to the 1/16th of an inch is how close we got to things. And those kind of level of detail made me really detail oriented, and it taught me tons and taught me how to put things together and work from start to finish, because you couldn't leave a house, partway done. And so it gave me my chops. And I would say, like, I'm so grateful for it. I think that I always thought my dad thought I was going to stay and take over the family business. And, maybe 6 months ago, I was like, did you ever think I was going to stay? And he was like, no way. I knew it wasn't your thing. Like that would have been cool. But like he stopped hoping, I think, day one. And that was an interesting story to finally say out loud, because I stayed a lot longer than I thought maybe I should have. But another place that I like, now that I don't have to work for clients and I get to build buildings for our community here.
Oh yeah, you are your own client.
I'm
the best kind of client.
Yeah, for our team. I love. This is going to be talked about on the backside as well when we're talking about how to. I love to travel for inspiration. I've got a lot of inspiration for my travels to Mexico City, to Paris, to London, to I love San Francisco for design.
Africa.
Ugh. Yes. What a sunset in Africa looks like, in the clouds being the certain colors. Yeah. So all of that's how I often will let things like marinate in my design. Yeah.
I think this is so clear. Sadly, you guys can't come along with us to the buildings, so maybe we'll walk you through a meditation of the visual elements. But we have lots of commercial spaces, and Tessa if you go into her house, she has great personal style. And then also if you go into these commercial spaces, she has great style, but there's clearly a difference. And I think it would be cool, not just a difference between those two things, but also how it has visually evolved from our first building to our 9th or 10th. I always mess this up, which is really a number I got to get on. But talk to me about like your personal style. What are you trying to build for? What are you trying to build for the commercial space? And how have we evolved it just a bit? Because we could go real deep, so we won't go super deep.
Well, I mean, I think there's two sides, right? So some may say like, well, what's your style? And for me, it depends on what I'm designing for, right? So if I'm designing for my personal space, most likely I'm looking for calm, because my outside world may not be. So there in my space, I've got a ton of natural light, a ton of windows, and then some really soft, neutral materials, which is not necessarily how I design all the other spaces. Like I definitely push into that on the commercial side in certain areas, right? Like inside your office space, like your actual office, you may want to feel calm and have white walls and neutral spaces and simple lighting. But outside of your office, in the hallway, in the bathrooms, in the common areas, lobbies, I want to say something. So I would say, like in the commercial spaces that we get to build, we want to think about like, what are we trying to say, and what do we want people to experience and feel when they walk in the space? So, thinking about,
we're going to put a pin on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What they feel in the, keep going, finish. But I was making a little note.
Yes. Like when they walk into the building that we're in now, that we're filming this in, and to create, I really wanted it to feel like a third space. And for the people that have visited here, like you've got the third space that people talk about, coffee shops. I wanted it to feel like a coffee shop mixed with your home. So what does that mean, and what might you feel, and what might you need to have a really creative and productive workspace? And so, those are the things I think about when I'm designing. And yeah, I think we have a really fun job to be able to do this. And like, I also want to go, deep on some of these other things, but I want to hear a little bit about like, what's your history with design and branding, and how do you, what got you here?
Thank you for asking. I mean, you are responsible for all of our design, and you're the catalyst for our Maven brand. So my history has been with working with designers. I am not a designer myself, although I've done some of that. But when I originally wanted to go to school, I was debating between being an artist, and when I say school, I mean college, debating between being an artist and being a mathematician. And if you listen to some of the earlier podcasts, I talked about I was praised for being smart as a kid. And so art was not about smart. mathematician was about smart. So I went that path. But that art side never really left me. And I did a minor in psychology to try to, get some creative space going. And I thought that was an acceptable, smart way to go about it. Really, it was that I just loved people. And it took me a long time to recognize that. But I love watching how people think, what motivates them, their feelings. Because I think when you know somebody, you can really do something with that information for the better. And so I fell into marketing. After my MBA, these were the classes that rang out to me because, again, it was people oriented. And I got entrusted with a brand that had not been, it was a brand that needed to be revitalized and reimagined. And I must have bullshitted them well enough to have them think that I knew what the fuck I was doing. And I did not. It was a brand for men, and they were attempting to take it from a kind of like a fanboy, unsophisticated sort of like I live in my mom's basement and I play video games to I am James Bond. And that's like that's a pretty big jump. Mm-hmm. And I was actually able with a very creative and talented team drive the strategy behind building that brand and taking it to a totally different level and with a totally different customer. And after I got out of that, I became a consultant, and that's where I spent the majority of my time was building strategy for marketing. And because marketing really stems from branding, it should be your starting point. That was where I would start with the strategy. So I've had, dozens and dozens of clients at this point who I've had the pleasure of working with and helping them define their audience, define their feel, and then from there build a strategy on how to actually execute it. And I think a cool thing to note is that most of the brands that I've worked with are outdoor brands. Maven was one of the first brands that was women focused instead of male outdoor focused, or within the automotive space. And I think why do you think
it attracted?
Because I'm the customer. And this is where I think branding starts, is the audience. That I think is the big strategy takeaways that we as entrepreneurs often get to be the audience. So it's very natural for the brand to evolve in alignment with your community because you're speaking to yourself, and who do you know best? You know yourself. But it was a really cool thing to step away from. I built a brand for men. I was guessing at most of what I thought they wanted. Fortunately, I happened to be spot on. That was probably because of the intake of data I took from a variety of different men. I outsourced a lot of questions and gathered the data. But Maven was like stepping into, I can answer a lot of this because this is how I feel. I am the audience. Mm-hmm. I am a woman looking to feel empowered in a space, and I want to be surrounded by community. So that's sort of my history, is that, I've done this a lot, a lot. And I've been fortunate enough to be paid for it, which is really cool. Like you said earlier, this is the job.
I can't believe this is our job. This is actually, this could probably go on to, I have a hard time picking a favorite part of my job, but this is pretty high up on the list for sure. I love this piece of it because it's tangible at the end, right?
And let's talk about how we merged, because Maven was something you started solo, mm-hmm. and I got to join the group, and we have this brand and design that we have nurtured over almost 10 years, and it has evolved and it has changed. And I think you gave us an incredible starting point, and I'd like to think that I gave us a push in a clear direction. And then from there, we were able to merge and morph and continue to evolve it together using our strengths. So tell me a little bit about the Maven start. What makes Maven unique?
I mean, I think we early on got lucky. So first of all, the name Maven, quickly, because we're going to be talking about like inspiration, like points. I first heard the name Maven from Malcolm Gladwell's Tipping Point.
Ugh, write that down.
I was reading that. It's a great.
Go read that. Go read it.
It's a great book. And I read about what a Maven is. And it was like, you must have a Maven in order to start a trend. So if you don't have a Maven, don't even try and start a trend, essentially. And I just latched onto that word. At the time I was also trying to get pregnant. It would have been my baby's name. And it was like, what am I going to birth first, the baby or the brand? And birthed the brand first. So my first daughter's name is not Maven because I had already named the brand.
We could have been Lucy.
Her name.
Also
it's
5
also
letters.
a family name. So I have an ancestor named Maven. As a woman, what
Sick.
a badass she must have been. I don't know much about her beyond her name, but that is where the name came from. And we'll talk about our name when we get deeper into this. How important is a name? How important is the logo? Because we get a lot of people that really get latched onto that.
Sorry, I just had this crazy connection that you called Maven a trendsetter, and I have never thought actively about the trend in design that we have initiated in Salt Lake, particularly with the color pink.
Ooh, well, pink. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
People
my
have
gosh.
so many feelings around the color pink.
Yep, hate it. I know. I can't believe I'm gonna openly say I
okay,
hate the color
here we
pink,
go.
and it is behind the brand.
Yeah.
Go.
Okay.
Tell me.
Pink. Why pink?
Why pink? Ooh, okay. Also, what we can do, and we can talk about why pink, and we can do a little bit of my 5-question why. The
Yeah.
idea of digging deeper into, you had this concept that you liked, pink.
Yeah. So pink, I think is amazing for many reasons. It evokes people to one camp or the other.
Yeah, visceral reaction.
So that's reason number one, right? And then also it often stands for femininity. And if I'm a baby of the 80s, you either had baby blue or baby pink.
Yes.
And you could not be, I was a purple kid actually. I did not like either of those other colors.
Dude, I was a fucking purple kid.
Yeah, my 4-year-old's a purple kid. I think
Before I morphed it to black, which is the darkest purple of all. But actually, I was also a purple kid.
I know
That's
mine
sick.
morphed to like taupe, okay? I don't know.
It got lighter, more playful.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't know. But I grew up with that. You were either this or that. And I love pushing. I mean, those of you watching, I've got a blush pink water bottle here because blush pink is one we
Sitting
use.
in blush pink chairs.
We're sitting in blush pink chairs. There's blush pink all around us. And
You got pink lips.
And now we play with just pink as a color and not even just blush pink, but pink.
Okay, I'm just going to hop in real quick.
You
'cause
have to.
When I was a when I was a consultant and I had clients, we often have this idea that like me as a new entrepreneur, I have a logo idea. I have a brand name idea. I have a color that I love. I have a space that I want to build. And you start in these pockets that are really deep into an idea because subconsciously you got there. You just don't know consciously how you got there.
Yes.
So like pink for you is this end result.
Representation of all these things.
And I think what's really important about brands when you guys are out there trying to build it and figure it out and understand it is to start peeling back those layers. And this is the 5 why game of I'm going to play with you if that's cool.
Yeah, I want you to play with me. And that reminder that
Even though we know the
we
answer.
don't actually care which way you get there, right? So if you see like me and design is what you see, or if you see like Rocky, or if you see through words, we don't care how you get there because you can still play this game and you can still design a full-fledged brand. I just happen to really be a visual collector of images and textures and that's how I think.
Yeah.
So that's my access point.
Yeah. The worst thing you can do as a business owner is not acknowledge and honor how you think, how you feel, because you are, as you said earlier, birthing something. This is from your origin. That's what makes it unique and special. And if you try to just do what someone tells you, which is, okay, think about your target audience. Okay, think about how you want them to feel, which I'm going to tell you. But if you just jump into that and ignore where you started, you're going to be pretty far off the path you want to be on. So this acknowledging, man, I have this really strong attraction to pink. Here is where you can go with that. Or I have this very strong attachment to the word Maven. So the first question is, why pink?
Yeah, I mean, 80s baby is going to be my first answer. And I really wanted to push against what it meant to be a girl. As being raised, you were this. I was, for instance, hated tights, hated skirts, was a really fast runner, could run faster than all of the boys. And I was pissed that I was labeled as such. There's not a lot of women in power. My mom was a total badass entrepreneur, so I saw her. But honestly, outside of that, like I was kind of in the dark. All my friends' moms were, stay-at-home moms, and good on them to be able to do that. But also, like I wanted to push against this idea of femininity.
Yeah.
So
why did you want to push?
That
second why?
That is the second one. This is exactly why I want to push against it. I hated society's definition of it.
Why?
Because I want more women to have choice in what they do with it. Do not put me in a pink fucking box.
Why?
If more women have access to power and wealth and choice in how they live their life, the world will change.
Why? I'm gonna ask the sixth one just because I can keep.
Just because you can.
Just because I can be obnoxious.
I want the world to be better. I want it to be more equal.
Okay. So here's what's crazy is obviously we know the answer, but let's assume that we didn't. You would get to a point where if you wrote this down, which is the best way to do it, visualize it, manifest it into something physical, you could look back at what you just dumped and go, oh, she wants to change the future. Then you peel back one more layer before that, and you said you want women to have, access to other women and wealth and capital, and this idea of them working together. That to me is like, oh, I'm screaming community. And then you go back one more step, and you had the empowerment component of you want women to feel like they can be equal, they can buck the system. Okay, we take these three words: the future being better, community, and women empowerment. And if you look at our mission statement, it's already freaking written. That mission, this vision and those values, which I would have to read because the vision's a little bit too long for me to have memorized completely, but we build spaces centered around community to empower women ultimately so that we can leave a better place for future generations to inherit. That is all stemmed from the idea of pink.
Yeah, and this is why it's so amazing to be intentional with whatever you have access to.
Yeah.
And lean into it. And we did not, to be honest, lean into it in the beginning.
No,
it was a very, very small accessory color, like that you would see as a tiny little hit. If you go into our fitness studio, which was one of the first places that we opened, it is got a lot of white, a lot of neutrals. It looks a lot like my house, but then you push into the pink when you walk into the bathroom. It's the most
explosion of flamingo wallpaper.
It's flamingo
pink.
wallpaper, and it's the most photographed thing I think we've probably ever done.
And it's hidden.
Because it was like I wanted it to be wild, but I also wanted it to be this like really cool surprise too. So, but as we were finishing up that building, which is in a building with around 20-ish other businesses, we looked around and thought, holy moly, we are onto something here. 19 of 20 people that we have signed are women. What is going on? And what the hell is that? And that was for me, this was like right as you were coming on board. Yeah, sometime right around there. We were like, okay, we've got something here. And newsflash, I love working and building for women. So we leaned into it hardcore. It was like, you know what? This is something that we are just going to push into. And we've got a lot of pushback from that, right? I mean, we've been criticized for it too. I mean, we once got a 2-page letter from an employee that really hated that we used pink. And it was quite interesting because it was like, we're not being inclusive. And I was like, it's a color. There is a lot of emotion attached to pink. It's one of the reasons we use it. It's one of the reasons that we like to talk about it. It creates conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm also not here to please as much as I am a people pleaser, because I am not here to be vanilla. Like, I want to create bold spaces for people to elicit a feeling and a response, even if it's negative sometimes, right? I'm not here to be liked, or Maven is not going to be liked by everyone.
Trailblazers are not here to necessarily be liked.
But we are here to stand into the arena.
And I also like that when we did start leaning into it, the pink that was hidden in the bathroom, which clearly I've already stated, pink is huge to the core of what you were trying to build. And it became a catalyst for communicating that visually to passerbyers. Is we had one of our 6th buildings, I think, we painted it bright pink on the exterior. No more hiding from the pink. And I think that really became a beacon or a calling to, hey, everybody, what are you going to assume this building is for? Most people associate pink with women. Therefore, boom, now we are saying something really loud. Our brand is very tangible. And then going back to this idea of we were trendsetters, how many pink buildings do we have on this block now? This was the only one.
We only did this, I don't know, it's probably been about 2 years, I think, that we did this. And we call it the watermelon building because it's pink on the top and then all the trim is green. It's so fucking cute.
It's really cute. It's a little summertime dream.
It is a summertime
Take it on
drink.
a picnic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And now a few blocks up, there are 2 other pink buildings. And I think it's just this idea of like women being like, fuck it, I'm going to lean into what it is to be a woman and push that boundary and push that edge. And I really think it's silly to think that pink can do this, but for us, it's really helped us get really narrow and brave on our focus, I think.
Yeah. And I think, just going back into that strategy a little bit, again, the big thing you want to be doing is you want to think about wherever you are is totally fine. That is where you are right now. So let's just accept that. If you've got a logo, if you're thinking that your logo doesn't look right, if you've got a brand name, if you've got you're in a foreign country and you took a great photo and that feels inspirational to do something with, start there and peel back by using those whys. Start with your pink, ask the 5 whys, get yourself down into who am I connecting to and what am I trying to accomplish through this? Because once you have that, then you can do these next steps, which this is the key to strategy. Once you know what you're trying to go after, for us, it was empowering women through community to build a better future. Then you can define your audience. Who are you trying to connect with? Because that's the whole point of the brand, the whole point of the business. Once you know who you're trying to go after, you want to think about number 2, how do you want them to feel? What feeling do you want from them? This is huge because if you think of all the big brands, it's not about a transaction. It's about a feeling. That is true, incredible branding because you are connected to that feeling. All those brands have connected to us emotionally and they choose one emotion to connect with. So for us, empowerment. That is what we are constantly trying to go back to. So when we then from there create any form of the brand being the design, the brand being the voice, the brand being the logo, the brand being the colors we choose, the spaces, the smells, the copyright, and then copyright, I meant copywriting. All of those things, you have to also remember, because we have a physical space, what's the extra sensory things that you can add to it? Smell, taste, sound, often overlooked, really hard in digital space, but you can still do it because now we have the ability to create videos. We have the ability to create feelings through those, visual versions to give you sound. And not that this is Maven, but I have another business called the Forgotten Cabins where we rent cabins out in the middle of nowhere. And one of the big things we did was we do true mood boards when we create space. And I think you do a great job of this too through Pinterest. You're not creating a board that is there for you to design from purely. It is what do you want to feel and evoke from that feeling? And the compilation of all of those pins, you're not out to duplicate what you see in front of you. You're out to create the feeling that you have created in a mood board. And for the Forgotten Cabins, it was, I want a campfire in that board to remind me that I want warmth in my colors. I want the feeling that you get when you're next to a fire. I want the smell of campfire to be in the surrounding area. So I want rich leathers and I want tobaccos and I want those types of things. That is an important thing too that you're remembering. So yeah, connect with your audience, define who they are, figure out how you want them to feel. And then from there, get that mood board. And I know you use Pinterest, which is killer tool.
It didn't exist when I was first in design, and man,
I forgot about that.
These women,
It's a newer tool.
Some people would just show up to where I worked, and they would show up with a huge binder of like a bunch of magazine cutouts, and that's how we used to do it. Collages.
That's a mood board,
and it was. Pinterest has made it so much easier and so much simpler because you can shuffle and find things like, oh, I like this, but I don't like this. How about something similar but different? And wow, a lot of things I'm just using just as inspiration, but then I can also source things, which is bananas that exists.
B-A-N-A-N-A-S. The shit is bananas. B-A-N-A. Still in the music kick, man. It didn't go away. They're just playing in the back of my head.
And it's just it's a really accessible way to jump into design. I don't use it for everything. Because my first moment is like probably in the travel world of like, okay, wow, I really like that. Or I was reading an article last night about something that wasn't even design related. And I was like, oh my God, this is the piece I'm working on, a new little project in my head that isn't cooked yet. But I was like, this is a piece, boom, I'm going to put it in there. That would be really, really cool. So this idea of like inspiration from a lot of different places. And then sure, Pinterest is a nice way to organize it because it's really visual for people like as I'm working with my contractors, I'm sending, hey, this is an inspiration. We're using some breeze block on a building we're building right now. But here are the questions I have around it. How are we going to tie this corner into this corner? How does the lighting work? And how can we access that lighting if it breaks? Like, so then you have to put in like the limitations that are obviously going to come with designing, whether it's budget, whether it's time, whether it's materials, like all of those things then start coming into the mix. But I try and go like really just big first and not thinking, oh, let's go pick out tile.
Have you ever seen those puzzles where they're super, super hard? There's like 1,000 pieces, 2,500 pieces or whatever. And there is no picture. They're just white space puzzles. I love this analogy because I think that's how branding goes. I think that's mostly the creative process. You know that you're going to put together a square shape and you're, organizing all these pieces and you're trying to find the borders and like whatever strategy you use to get there. But when you get there, you've got a blank slate. I like this analogy because now you can finish. And you don't always know what the picture is going to be at the end. It's not as easy as looking at a photo
all you have is a square, right?
And replicating.
That's your only limitation.
Yeah. And so this also makes me think about when you use Pinterest. Pinterest is a matter of inspiration, not a source of replication, because it's impossible to replicate something. And it's a little disingenuous to your brand because your brand is you. So that whatever was created, that was created by somebody else. So use pieces of it, but then do something to make it your own because that's where the magic's going to come from. That's the piece that you get to add into it. And it can be subtle and it's a great starting point. So I'm definitely not saying like don't use Pinterest and don't imitate first. That is often a creative way to get started. But think about it. Think about this being your inspiration, not your replication of something.
I mean, I think a piece that I really practiced when we're starting a design of a building is, again, go big and then get a little more specific on Pinterest and then maybe find a really special, beautiful piece that maybe is like the first piece you buy that then you build the space around.
Cornerstone pieces.
The cornerstone piece. We did this in Maven Strong. There's a really beautiful, like probably 2.5 foot in diameter dream catcher that was like, boom, that's what I want and why. I want people to be able to go after their dreams.
I was going to say, this is exactly what I want someone to do. I see a dream catcher. I love it. I'm inspired. I want to do something. Now go, why? 5 whys. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want people to be able to go after their dreams. Plus there's just some beautiful textures on that piece.
That you weaved through the entire space and it all tied back to that. But what did the dream catcher ultimately represent?
people going after their dreams.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, again, part of our mission and vision is that we want women to be able to dream big and to accept failure as part of your growth.
Yeah. But then a really important piece during this that you have to take breaks on is you've got to stop comparing yourself. So when you were saying the
imitation and the replication. Yeah.
For me, it's like comparison is my creative crusher.
I think there's actually a quote, comparison is the enemy of creativity. Joy. Or that one too. I mean, it's probably
there's
Pinterest has 50 million quotes with the same words.
Yeah. But that is an important piece. So I've got to get out of, there's some really, really beautiful things out there. And it's almost like when I leave, New York City and I'm totally exhausted, but inspired, is like, I've just got to get back to me instead of watching how other people, a million other people are living and building their brands. I have to get back to what does our community need?
Yep.
And what put your head like away, like, yeah, sure. Go look for inspiration and then stop. Yeah. And stop comparing and what other brands are doing and just get down to the what we're actually trying to build. And a tiny piece of it too, that I think is a super important piece is to create, goes back to something you already mentioned a little bit, is like with the puzzle and the white space.
Yeah.
To create space to create. A dear mentor of mine, Becca Peters, told me that when I was working on getting ready to build the space we're in now, and I was feeling really stuck and really, it felt really like, what am I going to just go build a couple offices? Like that's boring. And I just couldn't see it, couldn't feel it. And I went on a really extended long trip to Mexico. And I was lucky enough because you were in charge at home to give me some space, and I could not get into a creative space. And then the very, very last day,
it, right?
I was forcing it.
Yeah,
the very last day, I was like, I got to give up on this. And I was getting a freaking massage, my one and only massage during that trip. And all of a sudden, boom, I just had this like crazy download from wherever. And I actually ended the massage because I was like, I got to get up and write this down right now. Thank you so much. This is exactly what I was looking for. And I wrote it all down and it came out just like boom. And I think sometimes when we're rushing it, this is the witch's brew, the white space. Like I love the creative middle. However you want to talk about this is to not be so limited by the outcome and really let things marinate. And this was my marination period. And then as soon as I got it, I was like, boom, I can see it. I think I even wrote like our building, mission that sits around here somewhere on what I was intending for the space, like that day that never got changed. And it was like just so obvious, but I had to just sit in the muck for a really long time or sit in the witch's brew. And I was like tossing things in like, okay, cool. I like that over there. I'm going to toss that in. I'm going to toss that in. And it just took a really, really long time. I got to talk to a lot of people who have built. I've got to do some research on how this industry works. And then just,
it's a process, man.
It just, boom. It just like, then the magic was there. But if we try and be obsessed with the, four walls and what's going to be in there right out of the gate, I think you're very limiting in the magic.
This makes me think of a book that we both love. Thankfully, we wrote it down. Rick Rubin's The Creative Act. He is the genius behind so many musicians.
He's a producer, but he like pulls it out of them.
Yep. And that's his genius zone. But he makes it a very tactile, kind of like step-by-step way to work through the creative process in a way that's tangible. Because I think something you said, that inspiration is occurring and you can't control it. But when it does strike, that's when you have to do something with it. And often we have, we feel the pull of other responsibilities and priorities, and we won't act on that inspiration. And that's where we lose those ideas and we lose that momentum. And so I think that's another like really important thing to think about, is that when you make space, it will come to you.
It will.
And now if you've made that space and it has come to you, don't let it go. Go do something with it. Like even if it's a 5-minute quick, take a break, write it down, meditate on it, breathe through it, do whatever, but hold those little things close.
Oh, here's a question on
keep hitting this.
How you create, or when you're thinking about in your branding. I think there's a really special time where I actually don't tell people about it. It's like a secret time.
Oh.
And I let things marinate because here's the thing. Like if I tell someone about it and they have a sour taste in their mouth or they don't understand the vision or it's not done baking because we're making a freaking witch's brew. It takes a long time. They can sour it and crush the idea before it's even baked. Oh. And so there is a time where I might be speaking it to like 1 or 2 people and pieces of it or whatever, but I'm actually really quiet about it. And because I want it to bake. I want it to bake. I want it to marinate. And I want like the vision to really like come together. Are you sweating?
No.
Okay, good. But it takes some time. So I like new entrepreneurs that come and sit down often with me that maybe aren't launched yet. I like warn them, like not a warning per se, but be careful on who you talk to about it because you're going to have people in your life that maybe are not in the arena. Please make sure the only people you tell are in the arena. And if you don't know what that means, look it up.
Girltown USA.
Yes, Girltown USA is a great example, actually.
We were criticized for the pink and for speaking to women only.
By a dear friend who I believe to be like also a creative genius. And this was like, what do you think this is? What are you guys building over there? Girltown USA? And I stayed up all night thinking about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, we were really off. I don't know. Maybe we're really off.
Fuck it. We're not off. Let's
and
ask
then
the
we
community.
just like leaned into it. And we're like, actually, that's the thing we get noticed for the most. It's the thing that we feel the most in alignment with.
Our audience loves it. It's got the feeling we want. We're right back to the brand.
And we also go back to like when the men show up in Girltown USA, they're the men we want to be here.
Yeah, they're not
we're
afraid
stoked
of
on
pink.
them. They're not afraid of pink. They're stoked, and we're stoked because they're fine with being at a table that women built.
Yep.
So fuck it. So one of our other, I told that story to a dear tenant friend of ours that rents space from us, and they went and bought.
Bless you. Love this.
Love you, Acrely. They went and bought Girltown USA and then rerouted our website to it. So if you type in Girltown USA, you land on the Maven webpage, which I think was a genius present.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, it makes me love them
Sarah
forever.
and Britt, special place in my heart. My little black heart. It's special.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've thrown a lot at you guys, and as always, it's sort of like, what are you going to take away from this? You are probably already somewhere. Do not ignore where you are. You are where you are. You're probably supposed to be there. So let's not question it. But let's question how you got there by asking some whys. And that 5 why rule is great because 2 whys, not deep enough. 3 whys, 4 or 5, you actually get down to the meat of like why pink. Your logo, your name is really important. And then from there, you can peel back and you can get yourself to a point where you can identify your audience. You can identify how you want them to feel. And then you can work on all of the sensory systems by creating a mood board, not just for the visual, but also thinking about, if you have the auditory, the sensory, everything, put it all in there. And thinking about that mood board as an actual mood board and not just a design mood board, and taking inspiration from it more so than replication of it. I also think, to Tessa's point, she talked a lot about like not being attached to the outcome. You've got this white puzzle that is in front of you. You're going to put in a lot of work. You're still creating a process of how you're going to go about the puzzle. But at the end, you have a white blank slate. It can be anything you want. So you don't always know the end outcome. And that's the juiciest part about the creative process. And then I think that's pretty much it. Like those are really big ones that land. Be strategic, but be creative and find that balance. And that's kind of how to do it, which is hard.
And keep it as simple as you can, which is very hard.
Oh, I can't believe I forgot Kiss.
It's so close to your heart, right? So you want to tell everybody all of the things about everything. But the simpler you can keep it and the more clarity you can give it.
Yeah, that's what simplicity provides.
And that lesson we've had to learn a million times over. So please know we have not done it perfect, literally ever.
Yeah, shit's complicated. It starts complicated. It's really hard to peel back and make it simple. That's where the genius comes from, is if you have that ability to just distill it all down. And you'll get there.
You'll get there.
And if you're not there right now.
And let it just keep reiterating, right? You don't have to be attached to the first version of, your baby.
Yeah, think about
let it grow up.
If I was attached to my 20-year-old self, I'd be doing jack shit.
That'd be a bummer. I liked the clothes and the cigarette clothes.
Oh yeah. For everybody, I want you to get a quick visual. I've got short hair. My hair is curly.
Is it black?
But it is black. I straightened it. I had red stripes through it. I am sitting in all black. I have a spiked belt on. I have a Dickies bag. And I am smoking a clove, drinking coffee at a coffee shop, talking philosophy. I don't want to be that. Not because that image is bad, but I was so negative and so sad, and I didn't even recognize it. Really happy that I'm in a better space now. But that came from the creative process of yourself.
Yes.
So yeah.
So let it grow. Let your brand grow.
This is wonderful. I've also been indicated that we have a surprise game, which
I love game night,
which I'm pretty excited about. It's called This or That.
Yes, this or that.
You want me to read it? Because now I know how to play.
Okay, sure.
Or you can do it.
You go.
We'll alternate.
All right.
Okay. Neutrals or bold and bright? Fucking neutrals.
I'm going to go neon with neutrals.
Oh my God. Okay.
My favorite look right now. Minimalist versus hand-drawn.
That's a logo?
Logo.
Minimalist.
Hand-drawn.
Minimalist versus maximalist. Can I answer for you and you can answer for me? Just kidding. Minimalist or maximalist?
I'm going to go minimalist.
I'm also minimalist.
Yeah. Grayscale versus pastel.
Grayscale.
Pastel.
Fuck no.
White walls and clean lines versus textured everything.
Textured everything.
White walls and clean lines.
Texture everything.
I do like some texture.
I'm
going to need to have, right now we're sitting on a texture wall, but the rest of the 3 walls in here, 2 are white walls and 1 is all windows.
Is this a trick question?
I know that was rude.
I mean, texture.
Okay.
But not
matching or mismatched furniture?
I really prefer the look of mismatched furniture, but I never feel confident enough to choose the mismatch to make it feel intentionally mismatched instead of just fucked.
Yeah, I feel like this is a very fine line,
Yes.
actually, because I hate when things feel kitschy.
Yeah.
Intentionally mismatched, but I actually always have mismatched furniture.
I mean, and it looks beautiful.
I want little things I've collected over the years to live together and not have, RC Willie 5-piece bedroom set.
Yeah, no, I'm not going there, but mismatch it. If it's a curated mismatch, I'm in.
Yeah.
Someone do it for me. All right.
Hidden storage versus open shelf.
Hidden storage.
Open shelves.
No, my husband has too much shit. I got to hide it. Fuck that. No. We tried open shelves. They were immediately removed.
Statement art piece or gallery wall?
What's a gallery wall?
Think of my gallery wall with all the different pictures on it. I'm obviously going to say gallery wall.
I'm a statement piece.
Yep.
Always
I
some
wish
sort
I
of
had more
skull,
walls for more
moss wall.
pictures.
I guess, is a moss wall a very organic
it's a statement art piece?
gallery wall? Okay, then never mind. Statement. All right. One signature scent or scent for every season.
Kid, should I answer for you and you answer for me?
Yes, please answer for me.
One signature scent.
Santal 33. Associate that with fucking joy. You are a scent for every
peace.
Yeah, joy,
Okay.
peace. Sorry,
Right.
contentment.
I
all
am
of
a
that's
scent
in
for
the
every
same.
season.
Scent for every season.
I'm thinking about what scent I want to bring
You're
in.
like a fucking chameleon. I never know what I'm going to get with you. It's like going to come in, it's going to alter, it's going to adjust.
Perfect plant or jungle?
Perfect plant or jungle? Oh, fuck.
Jungle.
Jungle. Everywhere.
That
Plants,
is
plants.
align.
Yeah, plants everywhere. That was fun.
More the
Can
better.
we do more of those?
Those are fun.
Maybe not this or that, but like whatever.
Yeah, I like that.
We have smart people working for us. I like them.
They're geniuses. Stuff.
This is a good game.
All right. Well, we want to extend a huge thank you, to you, for listening. And if
Putting
you
up with
like
this
this,
shit. Yeah,
can you
putting up
share
with
it
this.
to at least one person that you think is going to really love this wackadoo podcast?
This duo of, asshats.
And we also want to hear from you. We want to hear from you on our socials. Geneva is one place you can engage with us, or Instagram, Maven.community. We would just be
Love
so
you.
stoked to
Love to
hear
have you.
about what's working, what's not working.
Ooh, and brands that inspire you. That would be really cool because I'm always looking for newer brands. I'm getting to that age where all of my brand education is old.
That's why. That's why we
went to Coca-Cola.
That's why we work with younger people.
Yeah,
to
keep us freshy
cool.
fresh.
Keep us fresh. Yeah. So come let us know. And also, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to learn about? Let us know. You are the reason we're here, and we want to talk about and bring people on to teach us the things that you want to learn. So let us know what you want, what that is.
I'm going to say it first. Love you, partner.
Love you, partner.
I win.
Thanks for doing this with me. See you next time.
Bye.